Jose, thank you so much for being on the CO Global Network podcast. I know you're an extremely busy guy, and so we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. So welcome. Welcome to the podcast.
It is an honor to be here, John. It's a great privilege that you have selected me, and yeah, looking forward to the interview.
No, great. Well, the first question for you is, you built Mad Mexican from the kitchen of your apartment, a number of years ago, into a
Correct.
very highly successful brand. What's the biggest against all odds moment that shaped the company?
At the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I just wanted to make something out of my hands and give it to people. And I thought that was usually that was people was doing. As I started reaching out to stores and they started telling me that they would consider my product only if I could offer them 2 to 3 months minimum of expiration times of shelf life. At that point, I started questioning myself as to should I do what the stores want me to do in order to sell them my product, or should I just keep on the path of keep on making them by hand and keep on trying, right? So at that moment, I decided to basically go through the rocky side of the road.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to lift because, there were standards back then. We're talking back 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
And the stores would not consider products like this. They needed to have a preservative, they needed to have shelf life, ideally non-refrigerated. And I went against all of the odds there. So that kind of shaped the company to what it is today.
No, that's a fabulous answer. Thanks for that. Now, you've stayed true to handcrafted, chemical-free food for nearly 2 decades. I mean, this kind of builds on what you just
Right.
said. What's been the hardest part of protecting that integrity as you scaled the company?
So the hardest part, I guess there has been a bunch of harder parts. I think the biggest one was that in order to take care of this, it wasn't about making food anymore, but it was about how the customer is going to experience my product and think from there backwards. So I am a trained chef and I have been very passionate about food since I can remember, basically, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, if you tell me, hey, do a guacamole, do a salsa, do some chips, my head immediately knows what to do and so on. But in order for the customer to have this experience, I need to get out of that comfort zone. And, I had to plan how it had to be. If we only have 15 days, or 20 days of shelf life, and the peak of those days are the beginning 5 to 7 days, basically, I needed to come up with a distribution network. So we don't hire our distributors because nobody would, nobody would pick up the product after it was done. So we have to create it ourselves. So we have, 5 trucks, 9 employees, just driving the trucks and packaging and so on. On the other side, the other challenge was like, okay, so now we have to sell it. We have to take the orders and we have to give them a timeline, so that we can make the order today and deliver it tomorrow. So playing with all those balls, building the finances and so on from just being a chef, it has been the hardest thing. I had to find many other Jose's lying around there or make them. So yes, I guess that's what it's around.
Well, that's very interesting. Viva la Revolution isn't just your slogan, it's really a philosophy for you, isn't it? What does that revolution mean to you today compared to when you started the company back in that sort of 205, 206 timeframe?
I don't think that has changed a lot.
No.
There's a long answer and a short answer to this. I'm going to give you the intermediate. Basically, for me, I was lucky enough to grow up knowing what my grandmother's food was, both of them, my mom and my dad. I mean, I had the opportunity when I was a teenager to live a couple of years close to where my town, close to where my grandparents were. And every day that you would show up there would be food if you show up at that time, kind of thing. And it would be delicious. So one of the things that I recall from those days is how satisfied I was eating that food. You go to McDonald's and you finish your McDonald's McTrio or whatever, and you feel full, but you don't feel satisfied, kind of thing. So I was always like, okay, so why do I feel satisfied? And in my years of coming as a chef and so on, I learned how to communicate via food, right? I learned how to make you happy, how to make you sweat, how to make you talk, how to make you comfortable. And my revolution is about, a revolution is basically like the go around, right? Like bringing the stuff to the point where it started. And for me, where it starts is, at that grandmother's table, eating, feeling really, getting all of her communication through her food that she put on the table. And at the opposite end of the revolution is old El Paso doing massive Mexican food, pumping, millions of salsas a day, distributing in Texas and the rest of the world. So what I wanted was to bring it back, still have somewhat of an industrial product, but where I was transmitting that love to the people that are eating it. So that's what the revolution is all about.
No, that's great. Well, thank you for that. Now, the entrepreneur journey can be one that's got lots of speed bumps, right? And you are
Sure.
you are an entrepreneur, and the
Sure.
food industry can be brutal. So, what kept you going through the early days of those big challenges? And when you were hearing no's, more no's than yeses, perhaps in those early days.
Oh, yeah.
What
Tons
kept
of notes.
what kept you going, Jose?
The short answer is faith. I knew that my life was going to go around food no matter what. And for me, at that age, I was 25 years old. I had been working in restaurants for 10 years and brutal restaurants. I mean, Gordon Ramsay kind of style of restaurants, either in Mexico and here in Toronto, and went to George Brown College. And I worked with some of the best chefs, and I was like, there was nothing there for me to discover anymore, except variations of the same thing. So for me, it was just about, making the path. I didn't know what I was doing many times. I was literally crying to my wife. My wife would be like, why are you doing this to yourself? Just go and get a job. And I'm like, I didn't know what to answer. She was right. But I kept going. At some points, there was no threats to keep going, just kept going.
No, that's very, very interesting. One last question for you, Jose, and that is this. It sounds based on your comments that food for you communicates love. What is one dish on your menu that tells your personal story the loudest, if there is one?
I think all of the dishes, either on my restaurant menu or my Mad Mexican menu, describe one of the faces that I have, one of my personalities, right? I go to different places when I'm creating these. Like, for example, the salsas on Mad Mexican, like the Morita salsa or the salsa verde, they're like, they bring me back to the time when I was with my friends, at 20 years, 19 years, living carefree, stopping to get a taco at 2 o'clock in the morning and just putting the salsa on it and biting it. It would be great. And that's one of the faces of that dish. And when I go to another dish, when I go to the guacamole, for example, this is very interesting. I was a kid, probably 8 or 9 years old. I was at a party of one of my cousins, and my aunt, contracted a caterer. And then in Mexico, the caterer would bring tortillas and meats and like a buffet with meats. And there was like a big bowl of guacamole. And I remember go to the tortillas, go straight to the guacamole, eat a taco with guacamole in my warm tortilla. And I was like, wow, if I could eat this every single day, I would be a happy person. That's my guacamole face right there at 8 years old.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Jose, I can't thank you enough for being on the CO Global Network podcast. This has been just a great 10 minutes for me and
Awesome.
all of our listeners. And so we really thank you for taking the time, making the time to be with us this morning. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good to see you. We'll see you on the next one.